So I know most of you are probably tired of seeing Silverwolf on my screen, so then rest assured in this video I will not be showing her in front of you all. Instead, you can just stare at Ruan Mei. And funny enough, these two work really well together. Now I've made that clear in different videos, but in today's video we're going to actually focus on the synergy Ruan Mei does have with Mono Quantum, but with a twist. You don't have to necessarily use full Quantum with Ruan Mei, because you can use another Ice character in the same team. And I'm going to show you the power to Gepard in today's video. Yo, what up, Toshi here. The thing is about Gepard and Xuan, it doesn't matter which character you use in the team of Ruan Mei for Mono Quantum. Both of them perform very similar. Now I will say that Gepard can actually pull ahead because he does have a freeze in his kit, and it does synergize very nicely in a team where you want to take advantage of having more action forward, the enemy's action being delayed, and just dealing more damage to the enemy's break, right? Gepard has a lot of break potential when it comes to single targets, so very nice for boss scenarios. So this applies to every character in the game, so don't think that this is just perfect for Gepard, because this is amazing for any other character that can utilize speed in their kit. But Gepard really likes the extra speed he does get from Ruan Mei, because it allows you to not have to worry about having a super duper slow Gepard, because the thing is you're getting that extra boost of speed, which will allow you to keep up with your teammates, and allow you to at least take more turns before the enemy overlaps you, and continue refreshing the shield on your team. So if you combine the speed boost Ruan Mei gives to the team alongside Gepard's very low base speed, you're looking at having around 100, 101 speed for the character without having any extra substats or main stats in terms of speed on the character. So with that being said, Gepard instantly becomes a character that is much more easier to build. You throw some speed boots on this character, and then he all of a sudden has 125, 126 speed, and then if you have a few speed substats, you can get this character to 132 very reliably. And the cool thing about Ruan Mei is that her speed boost starts as soon as you load into the fight. It is on your team at all given times, so it's just free speed. The cool thing about having the extra speed from Ruan Mei for Silverwolf is that this character can continue putting those debuffs onto the enemy, refreshing them. She can also keep up with breaking the enemy's toughness little by little, and then she can keep up with her very, very fast ally, which is Seal. The very nice thing about having Seal alongside Ruan Mei is that the extra speed you do get on this character means that you'll be very close to having the speed you need in order to hit 160 without having to worry about having Eidolon 2 for the character. That extra 10% speed on a character that has 115 base speed is a lot, and if you take into consideration you're going to have even more speed after using her elemental skill, this character is going to be around 153, 154, and then you need a little bit more speed in order to get this character to 160, and then you will have met the criteria for having the glam off set for this character, which increases her damage by a ton and gives her a lot more attack. And if you are rocking her light cone, of course, that extra speed is even more important, because you want to make sure you have 160 speed on this character at all times, because that's where most of her damage comes from, is having her speed increased. Let's just say Ruan Mei is a big boost for Mono Quantum, but I consider this to be a mono ice mono quantum. It's not necessarily a full quantum team, because you are utilizing either a ice defensive option or a quantum defensive option, depending on what character you want to use or what character you have on your account, of course. So I've been using this team in memory as a Chaos 12, and it's been super reliable. It actually feels a little nicer than Xuan at times. The cool thing about Gepard over Xuan, that he has an advantage over, I should say, is that he is able to revive himself if he dies, and considering he increases his own taunt value naturally, he's going to take more damage from the enemy, taking away a lot of the damage from your allies. He'll keep them even more healthy than with Xuan, because at times you could take an AoE hit from the enemy and then your whole team or your Xuan just absolutely collapse, and then all of a sudden you have no defensive option on the field. Whereas Gepard, if that was to be the case, if he ever was to die, he would just revive and then he would come back with an additional shield. So whenever you're fighting enemies that does not have any CC, this character feels so good to use as a defensive option. He feels so good. And I did say before that the synergy between Seal and Gepard isn't as good as it is with Xuan, and I still stand by that. Xuan is still obviously going to be better than Gepard in most scenarios. The thing is, though, is that whenever you do have Ruan Mei into the mix, the extra speed you do get from the character allows Gepard to keep up with Seal, because again, the enemies are most likely going to have around the same amount of speed. Whereas if you get that extra bit of speed increase, those scenarios in which you had your Gepard being slower than the enemy or not being able to keep up with your allies, well, now he's able to keep up because of that additional speed. So he feels like a character that has 100 base speed right now, if that makes sense. And the argument can be made if you want to use March 7th instead of Gepard and maybe you don't have that character, well, March 7th can get the job done. You might struggle a little bit though, because this character does need a lot of speed, and she does need a lot of defense, just so she can keep the shields on herself and her allies reliably. You have to take into consideration that it does not feel that good in manual, because again, you're going to make sure that you have the shields on the allies you need to have it on, just so that enemy hits the targets that has a shield. But if you are in AoE scenarios, this character really doesn't feel as good as Gepard or Xuan. Now the thing is about Silverwolf, she stands out the most in this team because there's so many different ways of actually building this character alongside Ruan Mei. There's 2 scenarios in which you can take advantage of all the buffs Ruan Mei provides. If you want to go in a crit eccentric build on Silverwolf, you can actually do so because Ruan Mei provides a lot of damage bonuses and a lot of res penetration to add alongside the debuff Silverwolf already throws into the enemy. This character is going to naturally deal even more damage alongside Ruan Mei because Ruan Mei works really good in dual DPS teams, but if you have characters in the same team of Ruan Mei that also deal damage alongside the main damage dealer, then you're essentially functioning like a dual DPS team. If you honestly wanted to go in a full break effect build, then be my guest because Ruan Mei already gives 20% to the whole team on top of whatever amount of break effect you already have on your Silverwolf. And if you wanted to build her as a hybrid, hey, be my guest because it actually isn't that hard. You're already getting free break effect on your Silverwolf, and if you already have a Silverwolf that is already really well built into crit, having that extra bit of break effect will be very nice whenever your Silverwolf actually does break up those enemies. So like the different variations of Silverwolf build you can decide to go with the addition of Ruan Mei into the game, break effect, or a full crit build. It doesn't matter which one you actually go. Because the truth of the matter is, you're just incentivized for breaking the enemy, and then you deal even more damage when that enemy does have their toughness broken. And then you alleviate all that extra damage the enemy is doing to your team, which helps in a lot of scenarios, honestly, especially with the harder memory chaos stages. And I think this beats having Bronya in the team that only buffs one damage dealer, aside from using her ultimate that buffs the whole team. But if you take into consideration, Bronya doesn't really help that much with breaking the toughness of the enemy. You're just dealing less damage to the enemy overall, and that enemy is dealing more hits to your team. So again, having Bronya, it just makes the team a little more squishy. But the question to ask here is, should you roll for Ruan Mei or just save for Sparkle? Now I'm going to make a whole dedicated video to that to answer your question. But if you really want to know the answer right now, the honest truth is, if you want to actually go ahead and use Ruan Mei in dual DPS teams and other teams outside of the mono quantum team or mono hybrid quantum team, then go for the character because she has a lot of value outside of this team, and especially with other characters that actually take advantage of having buffs dependent on Ruan Mei's turns, like Topaz and Jing, for instance. But if you want a character that actually just boosts mono quantum and mono quantum only, then definitely go for Sparkle. Now that character will be good outside of the team, right? Because Hoyoverse wouldn't make a very niche character, but she is going to be best in slot for mono quantum teams, that's for sure. And lastly, well, if you are just using Ruan Mei just like you use other Harmony characters, depending on what the enemy is weak to, you replace that Harmony character in your mono quantum team, then what's stopping you from actually continuing to do that? You now have an ice character that fills in the gap of having the Harmony character in your mono quantum team. And then if the enemy is weak to any other element, you can just bring the element the enemy is weak to, just like you've been doing before. So there you have it. I learned a couple of things with the addition of Ruan Mei. Not only does mono quantum feel kind of cool to use alongside a character that helps with breaking the toughness of the enemy, but having Gepard in the same team of Ruan Mei alongside your quantum characters feels actually pretty good. Now, you can use Xuan, as I said before, in place of your Gepard, and you can use Lynx. But if those enemies hit really hard, like in Memories of Chaos 11 and 12, you probably want to use a character that helps with the overall tankiness of your team and mitigates a lot more damage than just having your characters be used with their HP bars. Because your HP bars can only go so far if the enemy is doing like 2k per hit, you know? That's going to be the video here. Thank you for watching, and have a nice rest of your day. Peace.